want to check. I want to check.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Uncut with Q. Guys, it's a podcast, man. It's my first one, and I'm super excited to have a really good friend of mine who I literally just met you not even that long ago. This is insane, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because we connected. You spoke on stage in Phoenix at the All In event. Carlos and all those guys, they're really good friends of mine. You know, they spoke very highly of you. So just connecting with you there and now having him on this podcast is insane. But yeah, man, I guess before we get into this, just for everybody that's watching right now and listening, wherever it is that you're tuning in from, man, I'm super excited to launch this podcast. This has been in the works for like 5 years. I've talked about doing this. I've done it sort of, but never actually fully executed. And so this is us executing. This is our new studio. This is the place where we're going to be recording. Man, we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, overcoming hardships, leadership. I'm talking about business, entrepreneurship, events, current events, things that are happening right now. And so, man, make sure that you guys lock in and tune in to this podcast because this ain't going to be like any of that other bullshit that you guys be listening to on the radio. All right, guys? So, man, Eric, brother, introduce yourself to everybody that is, you know, watching right now, man.
Appreciate it, man. First and foremost, thank you so much. Honestly, we've known each other for, what was it, just a few weeks ago?
Few weeks, man.
Few weeks, dude. So I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here. And who is Eric Cline, man? I am 41 years old, currently reside in Raleigh, North Carolina. Born and raised right outside of Chicago, Illinois. And I'm the middle child, older brother, younger brother. And long story short, without giving the whole story, man, since a very, very young age, I have felt like I never fit in. Whether it was my own family, my group of friends, it did not matter. I just didn't fit in. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And from 13 to 28, heavily addicted to drugs. The drug that brought me to my knees was crack cocaine, which was something I said I'd never do. You know, you drive by, you see the guys on the corner with the signs and shit, and more than likely, man, that's either mental illness or a really, really bad drug problem. And at 28 years old, I had what I believe to be today my first like spiritual awakening. And I had told you the story prior to us jumping on this podcast today.
Yeah.
And man, it was 8 days of me literally living in hell. And it was years of drug abuse. And I heard, you know, helicopters, paramedics, hallucinating all of this. And it was me literally staring down the barrel of life or death. And since August 9th of 2009, I have not used a substance. I haven't put any substances into my body, whether it's drugs or alcohol. And when that happened at 28, and I made the decision, because it was the first time I made a decision to do something for me and not to please somebody else. I wasn't doing it to keep a job or, you know, not have my mother kick me out. Everyone disowned me. It was for me, I just didn't want to die, man. I knew there was something greater for me, not knowing what, but it's, man, from 28 to 41 years old, bro, I've had a hell of a ride. A lot of ups and downs. I've had, you know, a few businesses, some of them being super duper successful. And I've started a couple that have failed. I sit here today, 14 months into the wholesaling industry. And man, I can honestly say I'm not where I want to be, but I am super comfortable with where I'm at right now, man. As a man.
That is a testimony, brother.
Appreciate it.
I grew up, man, like myself, just so you know a little bit about me too, man, because we've barely been chopping it up very seldomly, you know, but my dad was addicted to crack. He sold methamphetamine for a very long time.
Wow.
And I got pulled in to abuse by this individual that was high off of his fucking ass every single day.
Yeah.
You know, so like I never knew what direction he was going to go, whether he was going to beat my ass today or he was going to just be cool dad today.
Right.
And so, dude, I mean, I can't even imagine going that far off into the deep end and then pulling yourself back. So I just got to applaud you for that, bro.
Appreciate it, bro.
Dude, so like going back to you growing up as a kid, what introduced you to these things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I remember I was still in grades. I hadn't made it to middle school yet, so I think I was in 6th grade. And I never wanted, again, I just didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I wasn't comfortable in my family. I felt like nobody loved me. And I was staying at one of my buddies' house in 6th grade. I always wanted to be away from my house. I felt more comfortable when I wasn't with my own family. And I was at one of my buddies' house. I was in 6th grade. The first time I ever drank, ever tasted alcohol, I blacked out. And it was, I was numb as in I didn't feel the awkwardness, I wasn't ashamed of who I was. So I really liked that feeling. So from that day moving forward, man, I numbed my feelings for years.
Damn.
Yeah.
That right there, in my opinion, because I've gone through it first too, those are addictive personalities.
Of course.
That means when you find something and it feels great, you become entangled into that lifestyle of feeling that consistent greatness that you feel during that moment. And it's so short-lived, you want to go back and
chasing it,
do it over and over again.
Yeah.
Had somebody would have given you a business or money at that age and you would have felt what that felt like to have a lot of it or anything. It could have been love. It could have been, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
A mentor of sorts. People like you and I that have gone through these things, like you went through it on a whole nother level. I went through alcohol addiction. So I totally understand where you're coming from. But it's like we have this thing inside of us that when we really love something, we see it all the way through. And it can be channeled negatively if we don't double down on that habit and realize that it exists within us, the want and need to feel amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is to be significant as a man. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Man, so like you went through that when you were a child and then growing up, it just got worse?
It got worse. It started alcohol, weed, cocaine, and it was one day, man. I was a carpenter. I was a union carpenter, working with my older cousin, and I came over to his house one day after we got off of a job site, and he was hiding behind his garage door. And we used to always do coke together, you know. And there was this one day he came out, and his eyes were bigger than I had ever seen him before. And I'm like, man, what the hell are you on? And he wouldn't tell me. And I'm like, cuz, let me know what you got going on here. And he told me, and he wouldn't let me do it. It was crack. And I was begging him. I'm like, man, let me get some of that.
How old were you? How old were you there?
I would have been, I was 21 years old, I think, man.
Damn.
Yeah. 21, and he wouldn't let me do it. And then the next time around, came over at his house once, and he finally, I talked him into it, you know, and he let me put the pipe to my mouth, dude. And from that day moving forward, I couldn't stop. I legitimately could not stop. I burned every bridge. I burned, my family disowned me, not because they didn't love me. They just, they could not deal with the madness that I was bringing into the family, to the world, to my community. I was a horrible human being.
Look at you now, man.
Yeah.
It's like an entirely different person, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, because you told me earlier that you've been sober for how long now?
This August will be 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
Complete sobriety from hard drugs, alcohol.
Yeah.
Period.
Any drugs or alcohol. Any mood or mind altering substance.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, man.
So like, I want to double down on this decision. What was the decision? What was the final moment when you were like, I have to quit? And what did that day look like?
Yeah. So it was the end of an 8-day bender. I hadn't slept in 8 days. The dope man was showing up at my back door like clockwork, knowing exactly when I needed it. And when you don't sleep for that long, you start hallucinating. And it was, man, I was hallucinating so bad. I heard the SWAT team show up. I heard helicopters, police dogs. The paramedics showed up. My mom, my girlfriend at the time, both my brothers, they were all walking down a hallway. I was renting a room from 3 college guys. I was the only one in the house. The guy that owned the home was a Chicago police. So he used to come in and out of that house when I was the only one there. I'd lock myself in the room and I'd still be smoking dope.
Damn.
While a cop was in there. And so they all showed up, and my mom was out there crying, saying, just leave him alone. He's in there. He's dead. There's nothing you can do for him. My brother was crying, fighting with the paramedics, trying to get them to let him in the room. And by this time, again, I had been locked in a room for 8 days. I was pissing in the corner in a bath towel because I was too scared to leave my room. My eyebrows were singed out. I had blisters on my cheeks, 135 pounds.
Where would the blisters come from?
I was smoking the crack out of a socket, and I would take the wires out of a cord to your lamp. I'd strip the wires out of it. I'd stuff the socket, and then I'd put the crack on top of it. I didn't have a lighter, so I would light the stove, and I'd have to get so close to the stove to light the crack, and then I was literally burning my face, and for day, man, 8 days. It was an 8-day run, man, and the paramedics I remember them lifting the stretcher. I literally can hear it right now. They lifted it up. They said, everybody back up. We're going to go in on 3. And when I heard the paramedics say 2, I kicked the door open, and I was standing in my underwear in a hallway, and there was nobody there. Damn. I had hallucinated it all. So when you say, what was the deciding factor? You know, I'm somebody that's always struggled with believing in God, a higher power, all that stuff, man. And I don't know what it is. I've always struggled with it. Mm-hmm. That day, I know it was something greater than myself. I'm almost getting choked up even talking about it right now. I knew I was either going to die or I had to do something different. And I didn't want to die, dude. That was it.
Man, that right there, brother, is just, that's the craziest thing that I think I've ever heard anybody say on any podcast.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
First and foremost, I got to thank you for sharing the story with us, because look, like I know that we just met, but going through the notion of getting to know you and seeing everything that you have going on, we just had dinner, well, lunch pretty much at Capo's down the street. Yeah. And you just taught my team how to convert literally like the amount of leads that we get, going from getting where we're currently doing between 10 to 15 houses a month, going to now 30 or 40. Yeah. You just gave us the map on how we can close and convert more of our leads into profits. And like seeing you speak, no one else in that restaurant was talking or saying anything. Yeah. Everybody could hear you. They were honing in on it. They were listening to what you had to say. And it was honestly just like, I was mind blown to even think that that type of person existed in you before. Is just in another universe to me,
it's crazy, man.
Dude, so like after you finally got clean, did the business come right after that, or what was the next thing? So what happened when you decided afterwards, and what led up to you now becoming an entrepreneur? Yeah,
so I heavily tattooed. All these tattoos you see I had when I got clean. So a buddy of mine, I literally had $8 the dope man didn't take. And I was able to get on a train, go from downtown Chicago to Rockford, Illinois, which is the hometown I grew up in. And my aunt opened the door to me, and a good friend of mine that had gotten clean, that I actually used to smoke dope with, he somehow had 3 years clean when I ended up taking the train to Rockford. And he brought me to an NA meeting, and he let me stay with him for 28 days. And he's like, bro, you need more help than just trying to get clean on your own. So I had no clothes. I had no money. I literally had nothing. So he brought me to Target. This is the long answer to your question. He brought me to Target, bought me 2 pairs of shorts, 2 white Hanes t-shirts, put me on a plane, flew me down to South Florida.
Who was this guy?
His name is Ryan.
Wow.
And him and I smoked a lot of drugs together.
And he said that you needed help.
Yeah, he had 3 years clean at the time, though, man.
Oh,
He got his stuff together.
That's good.
And he was like, "You need more help than just me trying to help you figure it out." So he put me on a plane. He had a successful business, high-end retro furniture and stuff like that. And he threw me on a plane, brought me down to South Florida. He checked me into a treatment center. God willing, I had 60 days of my insurance through the union still that allowed me to go into a treatment center where I didn't have to pay anything. So
those things, they cost like thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah, like 30 grand a month.
On the low end?
Oh, yeah, dude. It's nuts, bro. Yeah. Went into the treatment center, got out, and now, mind you, I was a union carpenter up there. And the last job I had in the union, I was making $42 an hour. I didn't show up all the time, but I was still a union carpenter, and I was making a decent living. Never 6 figures or anything like that. Like maybe just because I was laid off half the time and didn't have a job the other half the time, like I would maybe make 50, 60 grand a year. Mm-hmm. So I get out of treatment, and down in South Florida, there's a lot of, you can go and find a group of immigrants that you can pay $6 an hour and they'll build a house for you in freaking 24 hours. So like, it was hard for me as a white guy down in South Florida to go and try and get into carpentry. There is no unions in South Florida. So I didn't know what I was going to do for work. I had all these tattoos. So my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, she was bringing me to all these restaurants. I was trying to be a waiter. My first job, I was a busboy. At 28 years old, I would have to cover up all my tattoos with tattoo makeup to cover them up. They wouldn't let me work there without it. And I didn't have a license at the time. I was working in a halfway house, or I was living in a halfway house where it's for like structured living for people that don't have their shit together. Mm-hmm. It was $125 a week that my girlfriend was paying because I didn't have any money. And I worked at this restaurant called Charlie Crabs. I was a busboy. That's all I thought I was worth at the time, was to be a busboy. And I would take 2 buses there. I'd work, and I'd have to take 2 buses to get back to my halfway house. So after working there for 2 weeks, my manager came and gave me my check. And for 2 weeks, it was $146.
Damn.
My wife and I still have that check today. And I keep it just to remind me of what it was like. So I told my wife, I'm like, fuck this. I think I'm going to go back to Chicago. And she's like, well, what's in Chicago for you? Why would you even go back there? And she brings me back to my halfway house. And there was a white piece of paper hanging on my door that said telemarketers wanted $15 an hour. That piece of paper has literally changed my life. Reason I say that is they hired me with all my tattoos, no experience in sales at all whatsoever. At the time, I was full of social anxiety. I was having panic attacks. Couldn't hold a conversation with literally anybody. I'd be at a grocery store in the middle of an aisle, and I'd have a freaking panic attack where I'd have to go out in the car with my girlfriend, wife. I'd have to put my head in her lap, and she'd literally have to pet my head like I was a goddamn dog. So they hired me. In 6 months, they turned me into a closer. This was a company of over 200 closers on the phone. In 6 months, I became a closer. Within a year and a half, I became the top closer in that business. And it's not that I was the best. I outworked every motherfucker in that building. When I say I outworked them, I would show up. I was the first one to show up at this place with a lunchbox in my hand, waiting for someone to open the door. When it was time to leave, they would click the lights off and they would say, Eric, you got to get up out of your cubicle. So, dude, I for the first time in my life, like with all my tattoos, the lack of education that I have, Like there was no ceiling on how much money I could make because it was 100% commission. And I'm like, shit, man, he's going to sign the check on Friday. I'm going to fill the fucking blank in. So that's how it all started for me. And then I worked there for a year and a half, 2 years. And then the first business my wife and I started, someone brought me the concept of getting somebody out of a timeshare, which I didn't even know what a timeshare was. And they said, hey, man, there's this business model. You can call people up, say, hey, you want out of your timeshare? I was like, shit, sounds like a good idea. We took that business from concept in my bedroom within 9 years to being the #1 timeshare exit company in the United States of America.
What was it producing at the time frame that you were doing this?
We were doing over $34 million a year in gross sales. Yeah.
Man, you just said that you were addicted to crack cocaine.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
You had you were hallucinating, getting your house raided.
Yeah.
Went to a place where you could get help.
Yeah.
And then you started a business where you're doing 34 million.
Yeah,
that's insane, bro.
This was 12 years ago.
That is insane.
Yeah.
You know what I was doing 12 years ago, man? I was just selling weed, bro. That's all I was doing. I was just trying to find my way in this world.
Yeah.
Who would have thought on the other side of the world that there was this whole guy out there that's just fighting these demons, man? You know what I love, dude, about what you just told me? Like everything that we've talked about right now is that each and every single part of your life that you've been like kind of sharing with me this entire time, it's like there was just one battle after another. You know what I mean? But I feel like the key indicator here was that you were willing to outwork and out hustle everybody in every single category, no matter what it was, whether it was getting better, whether it was getting help, whether it was going and being a busser and then going all out, covering your tattoos. Yeah. I never went that far, bro. I remember I would go up to places like, only job I've ever really had, bro, is Jack in the Box.
Really?
Yeah, fast food, man.
I love it.
That was it. You know, and that's all I knew was the food industry. I had a couple of one-off jobs like Taco Cabana and then this place called Chacho's here in town. All Mexican restaurants. It's not that funny. Yeah, I am Mexican. It is what it is, you know? But, you know, I'm Mexican, I'm white complected, and I got a black person's name. So technically, I'm the best of three worlds. Right. What's up, y'all? So with this being said, man, like, the only job I ever really stuck with was Jack in the Box. And I used to do so much cocaine out of Jack in the Box, you know? I just realized that it was like such a bad thing for me at a young age, but I just loved it anyway. You know what I mean? And I truthfully believe that during that time frame, walking all the way from my apartment 2 to 3, 4 miles just to get to Jack in the Box, and then working there all day, and then coming back home, and then drawing out the plan of how I wanted my life to look like. Yeah. Like those were the things that I remember, but they were so micro. It's like once people see the outcome, like people see people like you and I, and they have no clue that we were just regular people at one point, you know? But
real struggles.
What was the real differential factor between us and anybody else that's listening to this right now is our willingness to outwork, out hustle every single person when it comes to our craft. And so like that, I feel like that's what I'm getting so much from your story is that you literally pulled yourself out of the worst place in the world, because God forbid anybody who's listening to this is struggling with drugs, because I know that people are out there that are struggling with drugs, man. But to understand it and then to say that this is enough and then hustle your way through recovery, because that's not easy, bro. No. It's the hardest thing in the world, especially when people have a personality like that, where it's like you go all in on everything that you want. That's why I had to quit alcohol. Like, dude, you gone 12 years sobriety. I'm on year 2 right now. This is like,
congrats, bro.
Today is like year 2 for me. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, seriously.
And I just like, you know, it's the clarity that comes with it that I love the most about it.
Yep.
The clarity, the calmness, the being able to make decisions more effectively and operate at a higher level is what I love so much about being sober.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I mean, I applaud you so heavily, bro. It's honestly super badass. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I didn't know we were going to go that deep.
Hey, that's where it went though, man. You know what I mean? Because there's somebody out there that will listen to this. And if it can pierce one person, that's, you know, I've done my job on this podcast, brother.
I love it,
you know what
man.
I mean?
I felt the same way. So I went to go speak at an event in Arizona recently. Everybody there was partying. Everybody there was getting drunk. It was more like a mixer. And, it's a phenomenal event. I still had a great time, and they really catered to me while I was there. But when I spoke on stage, I was speaking to a whole bunch of drunk people about how sobriety elevated my business. Because I have 17 different companies. We're going to go into your companies and whatnot. But for you guys that are listening that have really no clue about me and what I have going on, but this podcast is a company that I own. You know what I'm saying? My partner and I, Ernie, we run this thing together. So it's insane. When I was on stage and I'm talking to a bunch of people, it's like talking to a bunch of drug addicts about how this could fix them. I just felt like I wasn't touching anybody. Literally last week, I get a message from someone who saw me speak on that stage. There was probably 600 people there, only 40 people that were actually listening to me.
Right.
And he messages me and he says, Q, you really changed my life with what you said on stage. As a matter of fact, since you said what you said, I haven't touched a single alcoholic beverage at all in this entire time frame since when I saw you. And that right there, bro, when I read that, it kind of made me choke up a little bit because I just didn't think that there was anybody there that I was capable of saving. Not that I should or anything like that, but I always just try to do my best.
Of course.
But that one person messaging me that made that entire trip worth it. You know what I mean? It's a gift to me to be able to empower and to influence people. But when you're able to show someone how they can become better, how they can get into a spot or a position that they've had this mental blockade in front of, like when you feel like you hit a brick wall in your growth and then somebody gives you that extra push. That's why it's imperative to go to events or listen to podcasts or get involved with people when it comes to your education, because you learn so much. Even if that person in front of you, you don't see them as your teacher. You should always be a student in anything that you do.
Always.
Man, Eric, so I want to go back to this real fast because I think that this is powerful. Bro, timeshares, what the hell is that? For people that have no fucking clue that are listening right now.
So if you've ever been to Vegas, Orlando, where else do they do them? Where you're walking down a strip and they say, hey, we'll give you this 3-day free vacation. You just got to give us 90 minutes of your time and sit through a presentation.
Yeah.
Right? So you go, they sell you. You want to talk about really good salespeople? It's timeshare salespeople.
Those guys are assholes, man.
Sharks. So you buy into a package. You either get a fixed week. You can go once a year at a certain destination, or you can buy into these points. And it's the worst contract on planet Earth. You buy into a timeshare. I always say this, 100 people. A timeshare is not bought. It is sold to you. You don't go in and buy a timeshare. You are lured into a room and sold a timeshare. So nobody ever goes to buy one of these things. So we just got, again, we started helping people break their contracts, or we would help them transfer the ownership. If they had one that was paid in full, they would just transfer the timeshare out of their name. If they still had one where they owed paper to the developer, we would help them be able to back out of that contract. And it started off literally me, my wife, in just a room. She would cold call for me. She'd get somebody on, hand me a cordless phone. When they answered, I'd run upstairs, start pitching them. And she'd grab another cordless phone and keep fronting people. And we moved it out of a bedroom into an office. And at this time, I was in Rockford, Illinois. I moved me and my wife back up to my hometown. And we got out of the bedroom into an office. Within like a year, had like 6-7 people working on our team at that time. And I had got caught in South Florida. This is rewinding. I had got caught in South Florida, and I had got pinched doing telemarketing on the phones without a telemarketing license. And
you need a license to telemarketing?
In Florida, you do, and I didn't know it. And it's a 3rd-degree felony.
I didn't even fucking know that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I didn't either, but I stand here today and let you know it's absolutely true. And so I was telemarketing, and then I had some people on the phones. Long story short, 3rd-degree felony, had to go to court all over this shit. And then I ended up taking my wife and kids up to Rockford, Illinois. And we started that timeshare business there, got into an office, had like 6, 7, 8 people working for us. I forget exactly how many. And the day I beat the case and they removed the felony and they allowed me to get back on the phones in Florida, I got the call and they said, you know, Eric Cline, you're allowed to get back. You know, we've renewed your telemarketing license in the state of Florida. I hung the phone up and I looked at my wife and I said, hey, honey, you want to go back down to South Florida? She said, let's roll. I had 6, 7 team members on my team at that time. I said, hey, after today, you either don't have a job or you just come to Florida with me and I'll pay for every single one of you to go down there with me. Every one of those motherfuckers got up and moved with me. So
shit.
yeah. So they came with me and we ended up building that thing, man. In 90, we had 150 people on our team, all under one roof.
Wow, man.
Just blazing a trail in that industry, man.
That is awesome, bro.
Yeah.
So in that industry, you know, I mean, like I get the concept of it too. So do you believe was the most valuable thing that you learned from being involved with that business?
Sales, man. Sales systems, sales and systems, being able to bring in, like, our business did not take off until we were able to bring in the right people and start delegating work. You know, and that took years to be able to do that. That didn't happen overnight. And so really systems, but for me, what I was able to walk away with that is my sales background and just having a solid sales process where I could take it into any business model, insert product, and be able to sell it.
Would you be willing to break down the sales process?
Of course, bro. Yeah.
Throw it at me, man. I'm interested in knowing what this is about.
Yeah. So as I tell anybody that I sit and talk to, I don't care what you're selling. I don't care what their name is, what their situation is. The flow of your conversation should always be the same. You always want to try and take control of the conversation. I have 5 steps that I live and die by. It's intro, fact find, your pitch, your offer, in your close. So I'm gonna gear this towards wholesaling, just for the simple fact that's the arena I'm in right now.
All good, boss.
We are in.
Yeah.
And so the intro is letting the consumer understand setting realistic expectations of the phone call. Who you are, why you're on the phone, what the name of your company is, and by the end of the call, what they're gonna get out of it. So you've set the stage for the entire phone call. That's your intro. I always tell everybody it should be right around a minute, because if they are engaging, they're grabbing a pen and paper, they're writing your information down. It's going to take a little bit of time to do that. Once you've established the point of the phone call, what you're going to do on it, you go into fact find. Fact finding is figuring out how you can be of value to this person, right? In wholesaling, we're buying a home, but that's not the reason they stay on the phone. There's always something behind the reason why they want to sell the home. So it's getting to the why of why is this person willing to spend 30 minutes to an hour plus on the phone with you and sell their home to a complete stranger, you know? And so in wholesaling, what are you going to deal with? I want the equity out of my house. I don't want to be a landlord. I want to downsize. I got a new job. I need to go here. Someone says, I want to be a landlord. Rather than just hearing that, dig into it. Like, they're telling you something. It's your job now to help them understand what you can do for them. If someone says, I don't want to be a landlord, I always say use a third-party story. Well, the last 2 homes that we were able to buy actually came from somebody that said the same exact thing as you. Letting the seller know, I can relate with what you're saying. I deal with this all the time. Allowing them to lower their guard and hopefully get vulnerable with you. The third-party story is going to say, hey, the last lady that sold me her home didn't want to be a landlord, but it was really because she had a granddaughter living in the home that wasn't paying the rent, trashing the place. She felt disrespected. She wanted to sell the property, take the equity out, and ultimately either pay off some credit card debt, pay off the balance on her original property that she lives in. I always try to say she was going to pay it off or get the money out to pay off whether debt or something. It's to get them to open up, right? That's the fact find. So you have your intro, your fact find, finding out why, the pitch. And we always say in the intro that we're going to try to qualify your home. So we're doing a takeaway. The entire time we're trying to do a takeaway with the seller because it's something they've more than likely have not heard before. And the only thing that separates me and you, our companies, is our pitch, man. Like, we can offer the same amount of money, but what's the experience going to be like for the seller?
The way we articulate the message.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
And then you go into the pitch, which is the property. We always start outside of the home, go inside. We try to ask questions they haven't answered before, just so it doesn't bring up memories of the last phone call that they had. So we're always asking questions like, tell me a little bit about the neighborhood. Tell me about your neighbors. Is it a lot of rentals? Is it a lot of owner occupied? Remember, the reason I'm asking these questions, we got to see if it qualifies for what our company has intentions on doing with the property. So we go from the outside, go inside, talk about the inside, just talking about the house, get into general understanding. After we've talked about the home, we always put our sellers on multiple holds. The holds, you're going to ask questions like, hey, is your spouse available to jump on a call? They may say no. You're going to ask them, how much do you want for your property? They're going to say, it's none of your business. I want to hear your offer first. Once we get done with the pitch and we put them on a hold, all you're doing is muting your phone, and now you're a fly on the wall in the room that they're in, and they may tell you information they wouldn't tell you over the phone. As soon as you put them on mute, they're now talking to the spouse they said that wasn't there. As soon as you put them on mute, they're talking about a number they would not tell you. So we say we're going to go back, talk to the underwriters. Once we come back on the phone, it's, hey, Mrs. Seller, I don't have good news and I don't have bad news. They actually have a couple more questions before they give it an approval or denial. They want to know, what's the year of the roof? What's the year of the windows? What's the year of the AC? You always keep 3 questions in your pocket. It can be any questions, but you just want to, again, it's the takeaway. I always say we sell the sizzle, not the steak. And it's how you know, I look at it as we're wordsmiths, man. Every time someone says hello, it's action. It's like go time. And so they answer a couple more questions. And then we always say, hey, Mrs. Seller, is there anything that I haven't asked you that if you were in my shoes, you would want to know about this property? Good or bad, this is the time I'd like you to tell me. Whether they say anything.
It's like an ice-breaking question.
Yeah. You just, and whatever they say, you're typing it into the systems. I always type extra hard on the keyboard just so they can hear it. Again, perception is reality, man. You want these people wondering what the hell's going on. So we put them on another hold. We go back. Again, you're just listening to them. You come back. Congratulations. This is the first property that they've approved for me all week. With the windows being 15 years old, I did not think that they were going to approve this, right? You give them a virtual withdrawal number. Virtual withdrawal numbers VW12345. You make up any number. The reason we do this, we can leverage it for urgency. Eric, what's a virtual withdrawal number mean? Why am I even writing this down? Well, they've actually, any property that they're going to make an offer on, they transfer the funds from one account to another, and they're essentially waiting to be put into escrow for you. So the money's already been approved for you. It's sitting there waiting. Again, in their head, they start spending that as immediately as they think it's theirs. So the money's in the account. Congratulations. We're going to send you an offer, all this. You're going to get your, I want more money. I need to think about it, all this stuff. But as far as a sales process goes, that's what it is. We have intro, fact find, pitch, offer, close. We can go into I could spend 3 days talking about sales.
All of this comes from years of doing the timeshare company and then applying it and basically understanding the formula and copy and pasting it to everything.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, man, there's this formula that I learned a while ago. It's called pasture. And people use this in the commercial industry when they're making, you know, like toothpaste commercials. It could be deodorant. It could be anything, you know, L'Oreal, kids, right? With the no tears, right? It was really no tears, like no tears in your hair. Not like you could put the shampoo in your eye or anything.
Yeah.
But it's called problem. It's called pasture. Pasture is an acronym. It stands for problem, amplification, solution, transformation, objective, and then resolution. And this is a phenomenal sales process to help me out a lot at the beginning. Because, I mean, man, I tell you, if there's one thing that I'd like for the listeners here to get from what this conversation has spawned into, is that literally you can make a tremendous amount of money if you learn sales. Like, realistically, you get yourself out of a dark place, you apply sales to whatever it is that you need to do. It don't matter whether you were addicted to crack, you worked at Jack in the Box, or any of those things. If you learn sales, you can make money in any industry without even fucking owning the product. And so, pastor, man, problem is identifying the situation. Why is this person needing whatever it is that you want to deliver? Amplification is when I amplify that desire and want a need for my product. The S is the solution. Solution is like, this is what my product's able to do for you. T is the transformation, how it transformed my life and how it can transform yours. And then the objective is when I start going into the things that are involved with my level of service and what I can do for you. And then resolution is when I ask you to do something. That's the quote unquote, all the influencers on IG and TikTok, they're all posting the DM me for this, DM me for that. Comment below and let me know what you think. That's all strategic because it allows for the viewer to become engaged with the content. And so let me give you an example, right? Let's say we're going to call this product Eric Fixes Everything, right? And we'll say that this is a repair company. And I'll just do a little thing here, right? For everybody watching, this is valuable because I'm gonna blow your mind right now. This has been something that has been pushed onto you since you were a child, and you didn't even realize that there was a formula to it. So first, I'm gonna start out with the problem. Are you having tremendous amounts of repairs that it just doesn't seem like you're able to afford in your own home? I just identified a problem, right? Now I amplify it. Believe me, now I create the relatability here and the amplification. Believe me, I've been through it myself. I have lived in a house for over 10 years now, barely being able to fix the bare minimal. And because of this, I haven't been able to, with prices for material and labor on a rise, I have not been able to solve this problem until I met Eric Fixes Everything. Eric Fixes Everything is a platinum product. And within 1 week, now I talked about the solution, right? There's a platinum product. They do everything full service, material, labor, cost is all included at 70% of its normal cost. Then I talk about today's prices versus what your product is able to do and that price. Now I just created the solution, right? Now I'm going to talk about how it transformed my life. I called Eric Fixes Everything, and within 5 minutes, Eric showed up into my house and fixed my house, brought his own material. Tens of thousands of dollars were saved by utilizing Eric Fixes Houses. Now I just went into the objective where I talked about the amount of money that I saved. Not only is it a full service thing, not only did you show up at my house in a timely manner, not only did you transform my life completely by fixing a problem that has been embedded into me for like the last 10 years, has been, you know, not cool to live in a house that's shitty and fucked up, right? But then now I'm also telling them how it's also competitively priced. See what I'm saying? If today and today only, I want you to go ahead and call this number below at 559 Eric Fixes Everything. And Eric will be the first person to call you. Click the link below.
Let's roll.
DM me the word Fix Everything. I got you.
Love
See what I'm saying? So
man.
that right there is literally the forefront for how commercials create the want and need in the marketplace that allows for you to connect your product to someone else. You know why that this is important? It's because people don't buy products, people buy feelings. So if I'm hungry, I am so receptive to a billboard that says that food is 2 exits away. Because on that billboard is a picture of a chicken sandwich, a bucket of chicken, some beef ribs. And why did I even pay attention to it or look at it in the first place? Because it didn't exist to me before. Because the mind wanders to that of which it feels like it needs. So when I say or feel that I am hungry, I will automatically look for things that can solve that problem. and this is part of one of 6 human needs, which we can get into
Right,
at another
right.
time. But this is like a sales.
Of course, bro.
I just love sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I
there's
live
so
and die
much.
for it.
There's so much psychology, and it clearly changed your life. You know?
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, make sure you guys go back and listen to that process that Eric drew out and apply pasture to what it is that you do, and you will be able to 10x your income very, very easily with just these 2 formulas. So, brother, you get into the timeshare business.
Yep.
What got you into wholesaling? If timeshares was doing this, then when you went into wholesaling real estate, you know, there had to been like a drastic shift.
Yeah, big one. Well, I was getting ready. We had actually caught the eyes of a lot of private equity firms, and we were 6 months. This was a 6-month journey of structuring the company, getting the right people in place and systems to sell 51% of the business. So, and this was just 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, we're in 22. Yeah, this was 3.5 years ago. We were going to be acquired by a private equity firm. They had done all their due diligence. They were getting 51%. We were retaining 49% for the second sale, but they were going to pay us $54 million for 51% of the business. And 60 days before the deal was to be done, I ended up getting sued. My wife and I ended up getting sued by 2 of the largest timeshare developers in the world. So, long story short, millions of dollars were spent for a settlement for me.
Damn.
And I had to injunct myself from that industry, meaning I'm not allowed to step foot back in that industry.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I had known for 10 years was literally taken from me like that. And it was crazy, man. And I for a year and a half, I didn't know what I was going to do.
That's like your whole life's work, man.
I had that company longer than I had my son at the time. Yeah, man. It was rough. It was rough.
Man, I mean, honestly, like, how do you even go from doing, like, how do you even go? I mean, most people would have quit, man, right after that. That's 10 years of work in the making.
Yeah.
And then jumping into another industry.
Yeah. So for a year and a half, fell into some depression. I had tried starting 2 other businesses. It's not that they weren't successful. They didn't have my attention. I was trying to build the teams where I would go into the office as the leader, and I knew I was the one that didn't want to be there. And it's not a good feeling to have when you're trying to build a business and build up people around you, and you know you need to help yourself. And so for a year and a half, I had struggled, man. And this wholesaling model was being brought to my attention by a few different people. They're like, Eric, this model was just like your last business. You got to get into this. And
who first introduced you to this, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I have a friend. His name is Anthony Casada out of Orlando. And him and his brother have been doing this for 10 years.
Wow.
Probably 12 years now. And he was like, hey, man, this is a good model. I think you would like it. Hey, man, this is a good model. I think you would like it.
Yeah, to tell you like over and over
No,
again.
it really was. And I was looking at all these different things. And one day I just sat down, I was depressed. I didn't know where I was going in life. And
I honestly, man, I think any man would. 10 years of building the company just to get it swept underneath you like a rug.
Yeah.
That is tremendous, man. That is what you call extremely impactful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and when I had that business Q, like I had caught the attention of like Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone knew who I was, saw what I had where I had come from and where I was at. He would have me speak at his 10X events, his sales boot camps. Like I was in the mix, man. Like life was good. And when that all came crashing down, like all of that came crashing down for me. My phone stopped ringing. People that were in my life, which today is a blessing, are no longer in my life. A lot of fake people were around me. long story short, though, is it was a Wednesday morning at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was still in bed. And my wife came in there, and she's my biggest fan, man. She's been with me since day one. The day I got out of treatment, broke as fuck, she's been with me since that day. And she came into the room, and I remember her shaking the sheets, and she's like, Eric, she's like, what are you doing? Still in bed, 9 o'clock? She's like, this is not you. And she goes, you need to get up. I don't care what you do. And she wasn't saying it like, man, you need to get up and go do something with your life. She's like, I don't care what you do, but you need to go and do what you're good at. She's like, you need to get your voice out there. You need to sell something. And that day, I decided to jump into the wholesaling space. And that was 14 months ago, man. And we have, when I say, from what I've been told, and I don't say this to like, this ain't braggadocious or nothing, but I didn't know shit about wholesaling. I didn't even know the industry existed. I sit here today and I still don't know much about real estate. But I jumped into this industry and in 14 months, because now it's been 14 months, we've done over 112 deals. We're just at like probably 3 million.
Wow.
And that was the first 14 months. This year alone in 2022, I think just in 22 we'll break 5 million.
Damn,
just in this calendar year.
And all just wholesale deals.
100% assignment fees. It's nuts, bro.
You know, man, like that's right. Like I feel in my heart that just comes from that mentality that we were talking about earlier in this episode of just never giving up and being willing to apply your concept. Because I think what helps a lot is we all have experience. We have life experience, and then we have business experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, bro, it doesn't even surprise me that you were able to do that in such a short period of time because you were technically built to overcome.
Yeah.
If you can get out of an addiction hole, an 8-year one, and then apply that same drive that you applied to getting out of that addiction hole and to getting out of the financial hole from the timeshare company, and now coming through and starting something even more amazing in the real estate space. Man, I mean, you telling me you don't know much about real estate. It trips me out, brother.
I swear to you, I don't. I know how to lock a deal up, though.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. You find the deal.
I don't buy real estate. I don't flip real estate. I don't do shit with real estate other than call a bunch of sellers that hopefully want to sell their home and put them up under a contract. Like, we're just like this year, we want to start buying more. Like that's a goal of mine. Like I'm giving away a ton of juicy deals.
Yeah, of course.
When I should be buying these things.
Yeah.
But now, like the way I look at it, man, I'm 14 months into this. I figured out the marketing and sales aspect of it. I now have a conveyor belt of deals that flow through my business. I mean, we're locking up 30 to 40 contracts a month. Now, not all of those go through. We fund on average between 13 to 20 deals a month. Fund. And I mean, we're doing between 350 to 450,000 a month in assignment fees. I say all that to say I'd rather be buying half my deals and start building a portfolio that one day I got a shit ton of passive income. I just don't know enough I don't trust myself yet. Let's just say that.
You know, man, it's great to recognize the growth that you've had. It's also great to humble yourself and say that these are my current limitations.
Yeah.
And then reaching out to individuals. You paid for coaching to learn this stuff, right?
100%.
I paid for coaching too, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people understand the value of a mentor until it's applied to the business and then you reap the actual results of that mentorship. Yeah. So, yeah, man, dude, honestly, brother, I will not doubt, and I have no doubt in my mind that you're not going to be at an astronomical level come, let's say, 2025. We will revisit this podcast again and go over. So, because I'm planning on having you back more often, you know. But
appreciate that.
I'm super excited to see what you do over the next couple of years in the real estate space. I love real estate. It changed my life. It changed the way I do a lot of different things. Real estate was like the foundation business for me. and I built other companies on top of that. And those companies are all married to each other. They're always doing something different. But if there's one thing that's a universal truth between all of these different organizations and different companies that I'm currently involved in, is that systems, processes, and the ability to be able to close and implement sales processes into your business is what's going to be the thing that takes your company to astronomical levels, man. Yeah. But dude, I mean, honestly, Eric, it's just been phenomenal having you here, man, and talking about all these things, bro. Let me, first off, when you, and I want to keep going back to this because I think that this is super, I think that this is needed, right? To talk more about this, man. When you were in those dark places, what was your driving factor? Was it attached to a person? Or was it attached to you and what you were wanting for yourself?
How far back, man?
To crawl out of the dark place. Let's see. How about the recent one where you lost that 36 milli company?
Yeah.
You know.
So my motivations and my reasons over the years change, right? When I talked about this on, and I'm going to backpedal just for a moment. When I was getting ready to sell my business for $54 million, all the money that I was making, I mean, I between my wife and I, we were netting between $6 to $8 million a year. I was a horrible human being at that point. I got clean, started a business, making a shit ton of money, never worked on myself. Now I'm a fucking maniac making money. Ego-driven maniac. You know, I wanted everybody to know what house I lived in, the cars I was driving. I told this story. I had a Rolls Royce for 2.5 years. And every time I pulled up to a red light, my fucking head would go back and forth because I wanted to see who was looking at me. That's not a good place to be, man. I was filling a void that was not fillable. So I say, I thank God today, man, that my business did not sell. Because I don't think I'd be sitting here today. There's a chance I would have went back to using drugs. And there's a really, really, really good chance my wife would have left me.
Wow.
So what like digs me out of these holes today, when I lost that business and I went through that dark place, I now have... Dude, today my life's beyond my wildest dreams. You take all the material shit out of my life and every dollar out of my bank account, man. I got a wife that loves me to death. I got 2 kids. I got a daughter. I was able to step into her life at 7 years old from a father that abandoned her. And I adopted her at 15 years old. My name's on her birth certificate. I got a 9-year-old son that if he was standing there right now and you asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? He's going to say, I want to be just like my dad. That's what fucking drives me, dude.
Man, bro, I love that. You know, I like sometimes, brother, something catastrophic has to happen to people to change. And you've gone through those things. You've gone through the notions and whatnot to change. Yeah. And I tell you this because it's, I know some of these people are listening. They don't even know what you look like. Make sure y'all check out what this dude looks like on YouTube. But this guy right here is covered in tattoos. Yeah. Has done more drugs than I have in probably 2 lifetimes in just such 8 period of time.
With good teeth, though.
Dude, yeah. You know, we were talking about this outside of the podcast, and he was telling me, I was like, bro, you have amazing teeth, man. And he was like, dude, because when I smoke crack, I love to brush my teeth. I said, yo, that's got to be the greatest. I mean, crack is not a good habit, but brushing your teeth is definitely an amazing habit. And so to brush the shit out of your teeth after smoking crack, if you're smoking crack, we're not saying, if you're listening to this podcast and you're smoking crack, we're not saying to, all right, yeah, well, maybe you should brush your teeth, but get clean too. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? Like, I love that so much, man. Family is a very important thing to me. It's why I wake up every single morning and I do certain things, why I'm so invested into so many things is because family's the forefront of why and how I'm here, period. And I think that there's this thing and it's called push versus pull. Have you ever heard this concept?
Let me hear it, bro.
So let's say you and I were standing at the top of a tower. So you know my office, and then there's another office over here. There's a giant tower, right? The two towers. Now let's say you and I were standing at the top. Okay, so you and I are at the top, us together. We've never met before. Okay, we're standing at the top of these towers, and what's connecting these towers is a piece of wood, like we'll call it plywood, about this big, no bigger than my head, right? And so right across the way, these pieces of wood are connecting these buildings. Now I offer you, Eric, I'll give you $10,000 to walk across that with no safety, no precautions or anything. Would you do it?
No.
Why?
One, I hate heights.
I hate heights too.
Yeah. And I probably wouldn't do it.
Would you do it for $100,000?
How high up are we?
I'd say I mean, it's high enough to die.
Die?
Yeah, we would
For
die if
100
we
grand,
fell.
I would not.
So what about 10 million? Starting to get there a little bit, but is it really?
It ain't worth it, bro. I mean, I sit here today and I wouldn't do it.
Now, you said you had a fear, right? The fear
Yeah.
is to just fall and die, which
lose my
sucks.
life, man.
I don't want to lose my life either.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that I hold very dear to me.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that's powerful, and this is the reason why we'll say the devil tries to mess with humans so much, is because we have a choice to do things. And so with this being said, man, and this is a concept that I learned in 2 books. One's called Outwitting the Devil, and the other one is called the Compound Effect. I highly recommend that you read both of those. Again, for anybody listening to this, I can't stand reading books. I know I recommend them like I've read so many, but brother, I mean, I could probably toss up 10 books and I may have never even read all of them all the way through.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that even the first 15 pages is enough for you to make a change. And that's all that matters. It's not how many times you read a book or whether you read a book all the way through. It's the value that you got within a page. And so this is an insane concept, right? You wouldn't do it for 10 million. You wouldn't do it for 100,000. You wouldn't do it for $10,000. So let's backtrack this. Same situation, right? Now tell me, Eric, and this is the first person that comes to your mind. It could be multiple people. Who is that person that you love the most in this world?
There's multiple, but I mean, when we get, my son's name's tattooed right here. It's my son, my daughter, my wife. I mean, those 3 mean the world to me, man.
Now let's switch this scenario up, okay? Now you and I are on one side of the building, and then on the other side of the building, your family's over there. Those 3 people that you love the most. Now this time, the building that they're standing in is on fire, and you hear your son scream out your name in absolute agony and horror for his own life. At this point, the only way that you're able to go over there and be with them is to cross that plank.
Yeah.
Is there any doubt in your mind?
It's done.
Why is that though?
The force, man.
It's because of those are people that you love.
Love, yes.
And that is who you'll die for.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You wouldn't do it for any amount of money.
No.
But you would do it, and essentially you even conquer a fear of heights. Because
Didn't even think about it.
during that moment, your body's going to react in this type of way where you are pulled to do this.
Yeah.
I just tried to push you to cross that same thing with giving you as much money as you could. So when you tie a goal or an outcome to a dollar amount, you're never going to see it through. Why is this? Is because that dollar amount isn't tied to the outcome. Your people that you love in your life are tied to the outcome. We wake up in the morning not because we want to make 10 million. We wake up in the morning because we want to take care of the people that we love.
That's it, bro.
And so we're willing to do whatever it takes, even in a scenario like that, which I would never want my son to be in that predicament.
Yeah,
if
right.
I heard my son scream my name out like that, I would literally, my heart would probably shoot straight to my throat, and I would be absolutely terrified for my family's life.
Yeah.
In that moment, though, I'm able to operate at my highest levels because I'm operating as though they are all I got at the top. If I want to be at the top and the top has the outcome of my loved ones being there with me, I bridge the gap because I'm no longer being pushed by money. I'm being pulled by my desire, my outcome, what I actually want for myself.
Let's roll. I love
And
it, dude.
yeah, man, that was something that was taught to me. I wanted to give that to you.
Wow.
Because it changed the way I looked at things. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like perspective is so important, brother. You talked about perspective in your sales process because when
Yeah.
you give someone perspective, you give them a new way of looking at things.
Yep.
And sometimes that's the limiting belief in front of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we've all had limiting beliefs. I used to think that I was just absolutely fucking fat and ugly my whole life, you know? But that was a limited belief. It was caused by XYZ, my food intake, me not taking care of my physical capabilities, my body, the way that I was allowing porn and bad things into my life, man.
Brother, I get it, yeah.
So when you understand the equation that you simply remove these things, replace them with healthy habits, they compound in time, and next thing you know, you have that life that you've always wanted for yourself, man. Brother, so for the people that are listening right now, that are going through drug addiction, what is some piece of advice that you would give them? The guy who's smoking weed, watching too much porn, addicted to video games even, that just, you know, like these are all real. They may not be crack, but right now even social media is an addiction. People want to be like other people.
I've been addicted to everything you've just mentioned, brother.
What would you say to that person that is literally listening to this right now, trying to make that change in their lives?
There's an old cliche, man, that says, give it a shot for 90 days. And if you don't like the way you feel, your misery will be refunded to you. And I say that to say this. It would take a lot to get me to pick up a drink or a drug again. I have not thought of a single reason today, no matter how big or little my problems may be, to go back to what I was doing. You can't do it for anybody else. You have to want to do it for yourself. Somebody that at 28 years old was helpless, hopeless, addicted to drugs, not a productive member of society. I wanted to kill myself. I didn't think I did not fit into the world. If you're listening, man, I want you to get clean. I want you to stop whatever you're doing. If it is the drugs, the alcohol, the porn, the fucking gambling, the cheating on your wife, the whatever it is that's making you feel shitty. The way I feel today, and I know I'm still getting better. I still have struggles that I'm trying to overcome myself. But we all have it in us to make these changes. I'm nobody special. You're nobody special. If I can do it, you can do it. There's a ton of people out there like me and Q that are willing to help.
Oh, and absolutely. Absolutely.
And I know that's, brother, I figured out how to make money. Like, I figured the equation out. What I want to be able to do is help change lives. Like, where your feet are today, they don't have to be there tomorrow. Second chances are fucking real. Third chances are real. But you got to have to want it, man. I can't force you to want it. I can show you the path, but I can't change you. And that's for many, many years, man. My mom thought she could change me, my brothers, my everybody. It wasn't until we all have our own bottoms. They say when the pain gets great enough, we'll change. And, you know, a lot of people have to go through their motions and they have to hit their bottom. But, man, I'm rooting for you. If nobody fucking told you today that they believe in you, like this guy believes in you, that you can do anything you put your mind to, man.
Bro, honestly, man, this has been probably one of the greatest interviews or podcasts or whatever the fuck we want to call it. This has just been amazing, man. Uncut with Q. And I got to say this for the one time, we had absolutely no fucking clue what the hell we were going to call this podcast.
Bro.
And I got to give my guy Eric the credit on this because we came up with this and I love it so much. It was a group effort, but Eric coined the term. He said uncut with Q. And so we're rolling with it. You know what I mean? Man, what can my people that are watching and listening right now expect from you over the next 3 years, man? 3 to 5, we'll say.
So,
I guess, what do you got going on, or what are the plans? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, listen, I'm new to the space, but when I say sometimes you got to make a seat at the table, I'm making a fucking seat at the table for myself in this industry. Everybody, and I say this with confidence, not out of cockiness, step aside and let me join the team. I will be the number one sales coach within this space. The value that I will bring to this industry is unlike any other value that you've seen when it comes to the sales side in a sales process. I want to win with everybody. I don't want to move. I don't want to go to the top by myself. So if you are listening, just know I'm on your team. We aren't competition. Let's work together. I love everybody, but I promise you I'm going to continue to blaze a trail in this industry. Nobody will stop me, but I want to win with you. So let's roll.
Man, Eric, phenomenal, man. I appreciate you guys so much. Y'all make sure that you follow Eric on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. And guys, make sure y'all tune into this podcast. That is our fee. If you are listening to this, if you got value from this, if you feel that your life was changed from listening to Eric's story or anything that we've had to say on this podcast, period, we ask that you share this with a friend. Man, that's how I want to build this platform, man. Let's do word of mouth all the way. So thank you guys so much. Eric, thank you so much for doing this, man. I'll talk to you guys on the next episode.